شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام أخر.
Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. And welcome once again, inshallah, to our series, The Virtues of Quran, where we seek, inshallah, to inspire ourselves and yourself with ambition towards the Book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to strive to become amongst Allah Azza wa Jal special people. In the next hadith, it's a hadith which is often quoted and quoted in the context of one who memorizes the Quran, the Hafiz of the Quran. However, does this hadith apply only to the one who memorizes the Quran, or does it apply to other Muslims as well? The hadith of Abdullah ibn Amr radiallahu anhuma قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقال لصاحب القرآن اقرأ وارتقي ورتل كما كنت ترتل في الدنيا فإن منزلتك عند آخر آية تقرأها رواه أحمد, which has been reported in Ahmad. Abdullah ibn Amr says that Allah Azza wa Jall's messenger said, the Sahib al-Quran, the companion of the Quran, it will be told to him on the day of Qiyamah, Iqra wartaqi, read and ascend or advance. Just as you should recite the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your worldly life, for your station in the Akhirah will be according to the last verse which you read. And this hadith has been reported by Imam Ahmad. So from the benefits of this hadith is we understand that the Sahib of the Quran, the one who sticks to the Quran, the one who gives importance to the Quran, the one who makes the Quran his companion, has a special status in the dunya. And that status which he used to have in the dunya as being understood to be the Sahib of the Quran, the one who was always connected to the Quran, it gives him a rank in the Akhirah as well. And so we see that the Quran gives virtue to his people, fi dunya wal akhirah. It will be said to him, read the Quran and ascend, like you used to recite it in the life of this world. Kama kunta turattilu fi dunya. So what is the meaning of tartil? Because sometimes we hear melodious recitations of the Quran and we think that this is tartil. But sometimes people don't do justice towards the actual tajweed of the Quran, reciting the Quran with the proper makharij. So what is the true meaning of tartil? Because Allah Azza wa Jal commanded us in His book to do tartil of the Quran, just like He commanded the Prophets also to do this. Sometimes we have the understanding that tartil means to recite the Quran in a melodious voice, and this has its place. However, tartil means to recite the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the proper makharij, meaning the proper pronunciation of the letters, pulling the mudud as we ought to pull them, meaning elongating the pulls where Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned them, and to recite the Quran with proper ghunna, etc., etc. And when a person recites the Quran in this manner, this is tartil, and this is the beautification of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so the person will be said just like you used to recite the book in the life of this world, because your station in paradise will be according to the last verse which you have read. So we mentioned, does this hadith refer to the Hafiz of the Quran, or does it refer to any Muslim who has a connection with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And the correct opinion is, it refers to any Muslim who has a connection with the book of Allah Azza wa Jal, that his station in the Akhirah will be according to the last verse which he recited, he understood and implemented. Because we know a general rule in our Sharia is that a person who has knowledge but doesn't practice upon his knowledge, that knowledge is wabalun alay, that knowledge is a destruction for him. Likewise, the person who memorizes the Quran but doesn't preserve it in his actions does not gain any virtue by way of simply memorizing the book of Allah Azza wa Jal. And for this reason, Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu is known to be the greatest of all companions. Despite the fact that there were other companions who memorized more than him, but because of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu's knowledge of Allah Azza wa Jal and his knowledge of the verses and his implementation thereof, he will have the highest state after the prophets in Jannah. And so we find from this hadith that Allah Azza wa Jal has given a special status to the people who are connected to the Quran, who recite the Quran, who memorize the Quran and implement it, that Allah Azza wa Jal honors them in dunya wal akhirah. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to write for us this honor. Amin ya Rabb. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه ومن كان مريضا أو على سفر فعدة من أيام